We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank people for attending tonight, our very first Zoom into Wellness session. My name is Jay Schubert. I'm a professor at Torrey University, California. And I don't know about you, but this has been a really challenging year. And, you know, we've had so many things that we've overcome, and we have so many more things that we're going to continue to work together to overcome. But here at Torrey University, we really felt like we wanted to find a way to connect with the community and help us launch into a holiday season. One, to be happier, two, to be healthier, and three, to know you're not doing it alone. We have a really great lineup. We'll tell you a little bit more about that. I'd like to first say that please go to our website and see all the programs we're doing, because this is one of 11 programs for this month. I'd like to introduce Shalaya Yazdi, who is really the mastermind of this program, and she's going to kind of introduce the nuts and bolts of kind of the programming before we start with tonight's program. Shalaya?
Thank you so much, Dr. Schubert. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shalaya Yazdi. I'm a public health practitioner and a Master's of Medical Health Science student at Torrey University. I'm a prospective medical student as well. So I really wanted to say thank you all for attending tonight. As Dr. Schubert said, we have a lot going on, and it could be hard to find a balance between positivity and productivity and self-care during such difficult times. But we're here to bring any kind of help we can, any kind of knowledge that we can share with everyone and make a difference and help our community members find ways to stay healthy during the pandemic. So this week, we will be discussing nutrition. Next week, we will incorporate mind, body, and spirit into our discussions. And the third week, we'll be discussing chronic condition prevention, awareness, and management. And then we will talk about how to make the best of the 2020 holiday season during such difficult times. Our last session on November 30th will include a discussion that integrates all the concepts that we learned throughout the month from all of our amazing guest speakers and panelists. Thank you all for coming tonight.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. We are absolutely thrilled to be here with all of you. My name is Dr. Tami Hendriksz. I am a pediatrician and a professor of medicine at Torrey University, California, and I am here with an amazing team of medical students from our Project Happy. We are going to be talking today about kids and nutrition. So not only am I a pediatrician, but I'm also a mom of 2 young kids, which you will be introduced to a little bit later on in this session. And so I know that the struggle is real in trying to get them to eat healthy and focus on their wellness, especially during these challenging times. We do just have an hour today, so we're going to try to stay right on track with time. To give you an idea of what the agenda will look like, we'll start with welcome and introductions for the first few minutes. Then our Project Happy team will talk to you about helping children to eat healthy foods. So some good things that your families can start to incorporate in order to keep your children as healthy as possible. Then we'll have a cooking demonstration that it's actually a recording that my kids and I did yesterday. So you'll be able to see that. And then finally, we'll end with the time at the end for questions and answers. We want to be able to engage with you and see what you're wondering about and thinking about, and to see how we can answer your questions. So first, we will start off with introductions, and I am blessed to have a fabulous team with me. As I said, they're all medical students, future physicians, and they are just so impressive and wonderful. I will start off with just a little bit more information about myself and how I got interested in pediatric wellness. So first of all, I am a trained pediatrician. I have been practicing in the Solano County area for over a decade now, and I absolutely love it. While I was doing my training at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, I was struck with the rapidly rising rates of pediatric obesity and how we started to see diseases that we used to only see in adults. We started to see them in children at younger and younger ages because of that obesity epidemic. So I have diagnosed young kids with things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver disease, diabetes. We used to call it adult onset diabetes, and we don't use that terminology anymore because we are starting to have it in younger children. And all of those are preventable. If we can focus on nutrition and wellness, we can help our kids to stay healthy and be healthy as they move on into adulthood. So I'm going to start with our introductions for our team. We'll start with student Dr. Malik.
Hi everyone, my name is student Dr. Malik, and just like Dr. Hendriksz introduced, Project Happy is a big part of my career in med school, and as I have I've completed my previous master's thesis in childhood obesity prevention program, and it really inspired me to work with children. And when I found Dr. Hendriksz and Project Happy, it was like a dream come true. So I'm very glad to be a part of this program and to be here with you today.
Fabulous, thank you so much. Now student Dr. Lee.
Hi everyone, I'm student Dr. Jamie Lee. I am a Bay Area native and I'm really happy to be working with the communities back at home. I'm not sure exactly what type of doctor I want to be yet, but I think working with families and children is definitely up there. So Project Happy has been a really good introduction to that kind of field. Happy to be here.
Excellent, thank you. Student Dr. Momeni.
Hi, I'm student Dr. Tami Hendriksz. I am a first-year medical student, and I wanted to be a pediatrician from since before I could even remember. So being able to work with the kids of the Vallejo community is really one of the best reasons, or my favorite reasons of why I joined Happy.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And our team leader, student Dr. Perez.
How's it going, everybody? My name is student Dr. Cameron Perez. I joined Happy because I really want to get into family medicine. And one of the main reasons why I want to do that is because I want to be able to meet people earlier in the stage of their healthcare journey and try to prevent things rather than deal with them later down the line. So making these small adjustments make the biggest impacts later on in life.
Fantastic, thank you. I love hearing dogs barking in other people's backgrounds because it makes me feel more normal because my dogs bark all the time. Student Dr. Huynh.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is student Dr. Lily Huynh, and I am a first-year med student as well as one of the coordinators for Project Happy. I joined Project Happy because I really love working with children, and I'm also very passionate about preventative medicine. So what better way to combine the two than to teach kids about how to live a healthier lifestyle, which is what Project Happy is all about. That being said, through Happy, I really hope that I can contribute to a healthier community by reducing the onset of pediatric obesity.
Fantastic. And last but certainly not least, student Dr. Wu.
Hi everyone, my name is student Dr. Regina Wu. I also want to be a pediatrician or a family medicine doctor. I also just love community health and community service. And since I am the height of a child and I'm a child at heart, I love working with children and I feel I can relate to them really well. So this is definitely one of my passions.
Fantastic, thank you so much. I am so fortunate to have this fabulous team to get to be able to work with. So we're going to start just by telling you a little bit more about what Project Happy is. Happy is actually an acronym. It stands for Healthy Attitudes Produce Positive Youth. And that's exactly what we aim for. We want to try to help instill the values of wellness, which means nutrition and exercise, but also wellness in terms of emotional well-being for children and families that participate in our program. It's pediatrician developed, so it's something that I put together with the help of a lot of fantastically dedicated medical students. It's community-based. We practice it outside of the Solano County or within the Solano County community. It's family-centered, so we bring the entire family along. Student-run, all of these students are the leaders. They're the ones who really help to teach the program. And then what Project Happy really is a pediatric obesity and diabetes prevention program. So specifically focused on our younger generations and how we can help them to be healthy and stay healthy as they grow. Happy consists of 12 weekly sessions. Each one of those sessions involves moving minutes, so getting our bodies moving, and we have the parents move right along with the kids. Then we go through nutrition lessons, which you'll get a little bit of a taste of some of that in today's session, and then a cooking demonstration, which you'll get a taste of that as well. We have resources for local physical activities and healthy food options for our families. And then we incentivize all of our participants. We give them gift cards so that they can go out and recreate those healthy recipes each week. We give them different tools so that they can help do that healthy, active lifestyle, give them jump ropes, pedometers, yoga supplies, cooking supplies, to really just help them continue with the program even after the 12 weeks is up. Also, Happy really provides that sense of community and support. It is truly a community-based program, which is fantastic. The topics that we cover in our 12 weeks include the importance of water, fruits and vegetables, goals and barriers and how to get over those, moving minutes, where does food come from, meal planning, family support, mindful eating, the importance of fiber, treat yourself. So we will get started with a little taste of mindful eating.
All right, and I'm going to introduce you all to mindful eating. Mindful eating is a way for us to gain control over our eating habits. So mindful eating is about using mindfulness to reach a state of full by paying attention to our experiences, our cravings, and physical cues when we're eating. In some ways we can be more mindful eaters is by eating slowly and without distractions, and listening to our physical hunger cues and eating only until we are full. Distinguishing between true hunger and non-hunger triggers for eating. So for example, we just have some food left on the counter, just not going to grab it, versus like just really knowing when you're hungry, or versus snacking for fun. And then engaging with our senses by noticing the color of our food, the smell, the sound, the texture, the flavors, and eating to maintain an overall health and well-being. Noticing the effect our food has on our feelings and appreciating our foods. And on this slide, we have a few ways that we can, just like in a family setting at our dining table, implement a few rules that can improve our own mindful eating habits in our family setting.
Fantastic, thank you. You mentioned the importance of making sure that we're not eating distractedly. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What does that look like in today's day and age when we all have these distracting objects that we carry around with us and that light up in our faces?
Yes, I totally understand, Dr. Hendriksz. So basically when we're eating, like not having our phones with us, I know like personally being a medical student, there's a lot of time I have my dinner in front of me and I'm eating while watching like a video or a lecture, and that is really distracting, and you don't pay attention to your food and it's kind of, you're like multitasking. So rather than having our food, not like making our dinner tables or our eating places wherever we eat, no technology zone, no phone zone. So if I'm going to eat dinner, making sure my phone's in the other room or somewhere that I won't be distracted, so I'm solely connected with my food, it really will make a difference. I've tried it.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I love that. And I completely agree. It is so important to make sure that all screens are off when you're eating. Ideally, you're there with your family, all eating together. But even if it's not the entire family, making sure that when you're sitting down to eat, there aren't those distractions around. I'm going to speak really quickly on two of the other quotes that we see here on this slide. Don't yuck my yum is something that my whole family will say to one another. And that really means don't say something's gross when I'm enjoying it. So you may not like Brussels sprouts right now, but I am loving these Brussels sprouts. So don't yuck my yum. Or I'll tell my kids, don't yuck her yum. You know, don't tell her that you think something's gross when she's really enjoying it. So having that really recognition that we all have different tastes and that our tastes change over time. And then the 2-bite rule is something that we definitely use in our house. So 2-bite rule is really all about introducing kids to new foods. And so when I cook, say, a new vegetable and I put it on the table and my kids may look at it and it looks different and they're not sure of it and they'll say, I don't want any of that. And so we have a 2-bite rule. You have to take 2 bites. And then if you still don't want any, you can say no, thank you. The reason it's 2 bites is sometimes kids will take 1 bite and say no, thank you, because they've already had it set in their head that they're not going to like it just by the way it looks. But if they take 2 bites, they might actually realize that they're enjoying it. And then they may go further. Sorry about the dog. So moving on to my plate.
Hi, so I'm going to be talking a little bit more about my plate, and this is making sure that we get all of the components of a balanced meal. So the components of a balanced meal, what are they? They include fruits, veggies, proteins, and grains. We also want to make sure that we get dairy in there and also to stay hydrated. That's a really important part as well. And so although it may be hard to measure out portions of each food group at each meal, I think a really easy way to kind of, just like a general rule of thumb, is we want to make sure that fruits and veggies make up at least half of our plate. And that being said, it might be hard to kind of keep that going for each meal. But just being aware of how much fruits and veggies we should be eating in relation to the other food groups and vice versa can really help us keep our meals throughout the week be a lot more healthier, making sure that we get all of those nutrients. And even if maybe like one of our meals throughout the day tends to be a little bit more carb heavy or a little bit more protein heavy, if we make that up in the meals that come later in the day or even later in the week, just having that awareness in general is definitely a big step towards getting a really balanced meal. And obviously there are a lot of foods that we enjoy that aren't included in these food groups. So I, for one, really love chocolate, and that isn't part of the fruits and veggies at all. And it's really hard to say that we shouldn't have these things at all, but we want to make sure that we have them in moderation. So one of the lessons that we teach at Project Happy is treat yourself. So if you've had a really great week where you feel like you've been making sure you get all your fruits and veggies, you've only had a little bit of grains, you can definitely reward yourself with something sweet at the end of the week.
Excellent. Thank you so much. One of the things that I try to do with my kids is, you know, my kids right now they just started going to school in person for a couple hours, 2 days a week. So I'm not really packing their lunches this school year, but in all the school years past, I have packed their lunches, and I make sure that when I pack their lunch, I am giving them at least, I'll usually give them a sandwich, and then I'll give them at least 2 servings of fruits and vegetables to make sure that they at least have that there and ready, whether or not they eat it. I always get to see after the lunch comes home, but at least I know that it's there being provided for them. And then for breakfast, always make sure that there's some fruit there. And then for dinner, there's usually at least a couple different vegetables for them to try and enjoy. Moving on to Rethink Your Drink.
All right, so the whole concept of Rethink Your Drink is in the vein of trying to reduce sugar. Sugar is one of those things that is very difficult to remove. So among the 2 most impactful dietary changes you can make between adding fiber, like student Dr. Lee talked about, with adding fruits and vegetables to your plate, and reducing sugar, as Dr. Hendriksz talked about with the rise in diabetes, reducing sugar can often be the most difficult. So whether or not, like all the different diets you hear about nowadays, whether it be keto, vegetarian, vegan, Atkins, all these different diets, every single one is going to recommend removing processed sugars. It's one of those things that really has no business in our diets. Of course, we can have some and we can always treat ourselves, but it's just one of those underlying factors that we try to minimize as much as possible. Sugar is hidden in more than half of the foods sold in grocery stores today. So it's very critical that we read nutrition labels to know what you're eating. And buying more whole foods is crucial to make that change in minimizing sugar. And when I say whole foods, I mean basically foods that don't have a nutrition label. Consumption of large amounts of processed sugars is associated with weight gain, diabetes, hypertension, etc., all of which are preventable conditions and diseases if we make steps towards improving our health, like minimizing sugars. All diseases that we really want to just nip in the bud before we even have to see them progress throughout life. There are so many ways to make substitutions to fulfill that sweet tooth and fix that excessive sugar that we often do consume. And I'm looking forward to later on in this talk, if we have time, talking about some of those ways that we can treat ourselves by making simple substitutions that can go such a long way and still feeling fulfilled and feeling like you got to treat yourself. So now, we're going to be talking about Rethink Your Drink. So here you see a whole bunch of drinks, all of which have different amounts of sugar. And in the chat, I want you guys to guess how much sugar is in each of these bottles. So starting off with the Coca-Cola, how many grams of sugar do you think that is? And just any guess would be great. There's no wrong answers. 35, that's a good guess. Any others? 25, 33. You know, you guys are all a little bit too low. Oh, 50. Oh, there you go. GM Jones got the closest, 55 grams of sugar. That is about 14 sugar cubes. So for all of you parents out there that are drinking coffee and sugar and a 16-ounce or maybe 2 cups of coffee, do you think you're putting in 14 sugar cubes? No, there's no need for that. It's way too much. So next we're gonna move on to the apple juice. Any guesses as to how much, now knowing what soda is, how much do you think a juice would be? You know, just a small bottle of apple juice. Seems harmless enough. 45, 10, 36. Oh, I already got 20. Okay. Well, it's actually, yeah, it's 28 grams. So yeah, so one of the things about fruit juices, they're great. We talk about in Happy ways to make substitutions, like we talk about making basically a soda out of fruit juices like orange juice by adding sparkling water and these juices in order to, so that you're not putting the whole amount of juice, but you're still getting that sensation of like it's a soda while reducing the sugar. But 28 grams is pretty high, and the problem with that is that it's removed, the juice and sugar is removed from the fiber, which helps with slowing down the digestion and absorption of sugar. So that's why we generally don't recommend it that much. So now moving on to Gatorade. It's a great thirst quencher. Usually it's something that people drink after sports, but you know, more and more it's become a common beverage. How much do you guys think that Gatorade contains? 33, that's really good. You guys are getting good at that. All right, so what it is, let's see, 34. Yeah, you guys did great on that. So yeah, still, it's really high. Not much nutritional value besides maybe some of the electrolytes that you get from it, but making a simple drink with like lemon, cucumber, things like that, you get tons of electrolytes from that. So it's definitely something that can be easily replaced with an easy substitution. So milk, how much do you guys think that a 16-ounce cup of milk would be? Milk is great because it has the added benefit of having protein, calcium, vitamin D. So it is great for that. But you know, it does have 20 grams of sugar, which we're going to show. Yep. Oh, and I haven't been reading off the earlier ones. So for the apple juice, that was 7 sugar cubes. For Gatorade, that is 8.5 sugar cubes. And for milk, that is 5 sugar cubes. And now moving on to water, as you guys probably all know, water has no sugar, and that is something that we really want to strive to, for every person and all your kids and family members to be drinking more of, because it has so many great benefits that accompany it, which we're going to talk about next. So remaining hydrated every day helps with so many aspects of life, including improving tiredness, feeling less hungry, hydrating our skins, removing waste products from our body, lubricating our joints, and preventing headaches. You know, often people present with headaches all the time, and it's just dehydration. It helps us stay cool in the heat and prevents kidney damage long term. So what you're looking at here are age ranges that go along with the total amount of water that you want to drink every day. It is a range. Obviously, not everybody is going to be a big water drinker, but it is something that we encourage to try to hit, and then maybe bump up a little bit. You know, if you're coming in at half of your total recommended, maybe boosting that up just a little bit every day, so that we know that you're fully hydrated. One of the ways that we know that you're fully hydrated is, 1, if you're not thirsty, if you don't feel like you're thirsty, and 2, by the color of your urine. So what we try to shoot for is a very light lemonade color. If it's darker than that, I think that's a simple way you can illustrate to your children that you got to be drinking more water. So again, these are ranges. So if it's a kind of a lower activity day, you can be on the lower range. But if you're on the higher range, you definitely want to be getting in more water.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I love that you talk about the urine. That's something that we teach in Project Happy too. As silly of a subject as it may seem, teaching kids to look in the toilet once they're done going to the bathroom to see, is it pretty clear and really light yellow? That shows that you're really well hydrated. Or is it really dark? That might be a sign that they need to drink more water. And our bodies do, most of the time, if they're working well, give us those fabulous cues to tell us when we're thirsty and when we need to drink water. Kids struggle with it a bit because there are a million other things that kids want to do. And so their body may be telling them that they should be drinking water, that may be cueing them that they're thirsty, and they may read that signal as I'm hungry, or they just may be completely distracted and not be listening to those signals at all. So really good to know what those estimates are of what our kids should be drinking.
Okay, so now that we've seen what our plates are supposed to look like, let's put that to application and analyze a meal. So I picked my favorite comfort meal, which is mac and cheese. I'm hoping you've all have tried it or seen it or heard about it so we can all work together and analyze this meal. So we're going to break down the ingredients and they're all right here. So I want you guys to write in the chat or like turn your microphones on and let me know what food group you think butter, whole milk, and cheddar cheese go into. Don't be scared. Anybody want it? Dairy, yeah, yeah. Nice work, guys. So yeah, we have our dairy, and then let's see, what else do we have? We have noodles and we have flour. Where do those go? Yeah, grains, carbs, yeah. Good job. So what are we missing? Fruits, yes. Vegetables, yeah, and our proteins, yes. So obviously we can see that macaroni and cheese is not something we should be eating by itself as a meal. We can either eat it as a side with some like chicken or some protein and some vegetables also, or we can add some proteins and vegetables into the macaroni and cheese. You can still eat the macaroni and cheese, but it shouldn't be your primary source of sustenance because we need all of our good food groups.
Fantastic. I love that. My kids love mac and cheese. They love it. And so I do really have to emphasize for them that mac and cheese can be something that they can enjoy, right, in moderation, but making sure that they're also eating some fruits and vegetables on the side. I have tried mixing in things like broccoli, cauliflower, peas into their mac and cheese. My kids personally aren't big fans of that, but some kids may be.
So within the Vallejo community, it can definitely be a challenge for some to get access to fresh produce. So this is just a resources page that lists some of the other options for where else you can get access to fresh produce besides grocery stores so that you can kickstart your healthy and mindful eating. So for example, community supported agriculture, farm to delivery, farm fresh, and then we even have our local Vallejo farmers market. And what Farm Fresh is it's an organization that actually started right here on our very own Turo campus, led by our own students. And it offers microgreens for purchase. And what microgreens are that they are essentially a type of small leafy greens jam-packed with potent nutrients that you can essentially add to literally any dish. So Farm Fresh also sells microgreen kits that you can use to even grow your own. And to the left side, we additionally have some fun YouTube links that you guys can check out that give you some insight on how you can even grow your own produce from produce that you may already have, which can help cut the cost of groceries by a lot. So for example, I think one of the videos shows you how to regrow spring onions from the roots of spring onions that you may have saved from like the last time that you cooked. So that's something fun that you can check out.
Love that. And that's another fun thing you can do with kids, getting the kids into not only choosing new fruits and vegetables to try, but also growing them and then harvesting them can be really fun and makes them more excited to try them, which is pretty fantastic. And yes, another little shout out for Farm Fresh, our medical student innovators and entrepreneurs who provide this wonderful way for all of us to get these huge, just jam-packed nutrients within these small little microgreens, something you can just sprinkle over the top of a salad. That's something that we've grown here at our house, and my kids have just cut some of those microgreens off and added them to their meals, which is pretty exciting to see them getting those fabulous nutrients and enjoying it.
Okay, now just to make sure that all of y'all were paying attention with us, I know it was kind of a 30-minute long presentation. We just have this little fun Zoom poll quiz kind of thing that we can go over. But Shalaya, would you mind putting on the poll for everyone? Thank you. So the first question, student Dr. Cameron said this earlier, but how many sugar cubes are in one average soda? You can also move on to the next question too. Oh, let's see. Ooh, wow, 100% got 14. Awesome. So yes, back to what student Dr. Cameron was saying. In an average soda, there's 55 grams of sugar, and that equals to 14 sugar cubes. So that's definitely way more than I thought it would be, but okay, moving on to the next question. People have been answering already. What should make up half your plate? The next question after that is, how many cups of water should a 4 to 8-year-old drink per day? And then the fourth and fifth question are just some cute little things about Project Happy. What is Project Happy, and can you join Project Happy? And yes, you can. But go back to question number 2. So fruits and veggies should encompass half of your plate. Like student Dr. Lee was saying, fruits and veggies should be half. Grains should be a fourth, and protein should also be a fourth. So unfortunately, pumpkin pie and Halloween candy are not the best things to eat. And then moving on to question 3. So a 4 to 8-year-old should drink about 5 cups of water. Children ages 9 to 13 should be drinking 7 to 8 cups, and teenagers 14 to 18 should be drinking 8 to 11, as well as adults. I know what helps me is my aunt got me this, I don't know if you guys can see, but I got this big water bottle that actually has 8 cups in here, actually 16, and it tells you the time stamp of when you should drink it. And also, if you're trying to drink something like Gatorade that has electrolytes but has a lot of sugar, a good alternative is coconut water, which has 15 grams of sugar, which is slightly less. So those are also good alternatives.
So as Dr. Shubrick put in the chat earlier, we encourage you guys to ask any questions that you have. We'd love to answer them. We're also going to be doing a little presentation about Happy and showing a video, but please submit all the questions that you want.
Fantastic. Thank you. Do you see how wonderful my team is? It's so great. And these are like very small little tastes of the lessons that we go through with Project Happy. It truly is such a happy place. So now we're going to move on to our cooking demonstration. And like I said, this is actually a video that my kids and I filmed yesterday. I was a little bit worried about how we would be able to do the cooking demonstration with both of my kids and the live Zoom setting. And so I decided to pre-record. What I'm worried about is that the video may lag a little bit, but I can send out the link. I put it up on my YouTube channel, so I can send out the link if anybody wants to watch it on their own. But we'll go ahead and watch our cooking demonstration.
Zoe and Bailey make cauliflower fried rice.
Hello, my name is Dr. Tami Hendriksz. I'm a pediatrician and a professor of medicine at Torrey University, California. I am thrilled today to be joined by my 2 children. You say your name and how old you are?
I'm Zoe, and I am 10 years old. I'm Bailey. I'm in 3rd grade, and I am 8.
Fantastic. So Zoe and Bailey are going to work with me today as we give you a healthy cooking demonstration. Girls, what are we making today?
Cauliflower fried rice.
That's right, cauliflower fried rice. I love cauliflower fried rice because it is quick and easy, and incredibly healthy. It is a one-pan meal, so the cleanup is a breeze as well. And it is so vegetable forward, just chock full of veggies. Every time I feed the kids a meal, I always make sure that they have at least one serving of fruits and vegetables. With cauliflower fried rice, the meal is vegetables, which is pretty fantastic. Girls, can you tell us what the ingredients are?
1 tablespoon of oil.
So 1 tablespoon of oil. The heart healthiest oils that you can use are olive oil and canola oil.
1 large cauliflower.
1 large cauliflower. We'll be ricing the cauliflower so you can see how we do it at home. But nowadays you can also buy frozen cauliflower that's already been riced, which is fantastic.
1/4 onion.
1/4 of an onion, diced up really small. My kids don't like onions. I have to say I'm not a big fan of raw onions either. But when you dice them really small and you cook them, it helps to add a really great savory flavor to your cooking.
1 to 2 cloves of garlic.
1 to 2 cloves of garlic, once again, diced up really small.
1 to 2 eggs.
1 to 2 eggs. We're going to scramble those up. I have 1 child who loves eggs, 1 child who doesn't like eggs. I like to add eggs to this dish, even though it is a vegetarian dish, so it'll be ovo-vegetarian, because it helps to increase the protein level. And Zoe will even eat some of the little bits of scrambled eggs that get in there. What's our next ingredient?
1 cup peas and diced carrots.
That's right. You can get the pack of frozen peas and carrots. We just had a pack of peas in the freezer, and then I grabbed some baby carrots that I cut up for this.
4 tablespoons of soy sauce.
Yeah, and then that's our flavoring, is the soy sauce. Ideally, you'd be using low sodium soy sauce, once again, just to be as heart healthy as you can be for your family. So as we get started, what is the very first thing we do before we cook every single time?
Wash our hands.
Wash our hands, absolutely. So we're gonna go to the kitchen and wash our hands. I'm gonna ask Bailey, do you think you could scramble the egg for us? Fantastic. And while Bailey is scrambling the egg, do you think you can rice the cauliflower for us?
Sure.
So much enthusiasm. So Zoe's gonna enthusiastically rice the cauliflower for us. So here you can see Bailey is pouring out 2 eggs that have been scrambled into a pan that has just a little bit of olive oil in it. She is going to add a little bit of salt and start to scramble that. While she's doing that, Zoe is ricing the cauliflower. And in order to rice the cauliflower, most food processors have a couple different attachments. They have the grater attachment, which is the one that we're using here. You can use it to grate cheese or grate all kinds of vegetables. Or you can use just the regular attachment, the blades attachment. Either one will work just fine. I like the grater attachment because it does give it a little bit more of that riced texture. Now, as I was saying, I love riced cauliflower. I find it as a fantastic way to kind of sneak vegetables into my kids' diets. When I am making a meal that has rice as a component, let's say, for example, I am making a meal with burrito bowls, like make your own burrito bowls, I'll cook up our usual brown rice, which is usually what we eat. And then I'll also grab one of those freezer packs of cauliflower rice, or I'll rice up a cauliflower if we happen to have one in the fridge, and I'll add it to the brown rice. I'll cook it up and add it to the brown rice in a 50-50 mixture, and that way nobody can really tell the difference in the rice. But I know that as my kids eat it, and like I said, in those make your own burrito bowls, I'll serve up some black beans, maybe some chicken, some salsa, some roasted veggies, maybe some cheese, and then everybody at the table gets to add what they want. But I know that when they're eating the rice, they're getting that good, healthy serving of vegetables along with it. So that is just one of my quick tips of sneaking in those veggies with kids and using more of that cauliflower fried rice. So here we can see the eggs are just about done being scrambled, and Zoe has almost completely riced that full cauliflower, just doing the finishing touches there. And then once the eggs are scrambled, we will take them out of the pan and put them into our serving dish. I like to leave as few dirty dishes as possible. And then We'll add a tiny bit more oil to the pan and add in the onions. And so here Zoe is browning the onions. So you want to get the onions so that they are starting to look translucent, nice and clear in color. Then we'll add the garlic. And then we'll cook up the onions and the garlic for a while, once again, until the onions just get a little bit more translucent. One of my time-saving techniques for using garlic is to actually mince it up once I get a large garlic clove, mince it all up at once, and then store it in the fridge. I'll add a little bit of salt for preservative and put a little bit of oil on top, and then it's good to go. I can just scoop out some anytime I need to cook. Here we see the kids have added the riced cauliflower, and so Zoe is just stirring it up along with the onions and the garlic that are already in the pan. So making sure that it's all nice and mixed together. She's stirring quite a lot. You don't have to stir this dish quite that much, but it makes it fun and exciting for the kids, and so I'll do whatever I can to keep them engaged with it. Here, Bailey is adding the soy sauce. The soy sauce is really, along with the onions and the garlic, it is our seasoning for this dish. So Zoe's gonna stir in the cauliflower rice, the soy sauce, the onions, and the garlic. This usually cooks up within another 3 to 4 minutes. If it takes about 3 minutes or so to get those onions nice and translucent, this is probably another 3 to 4 minutes for the cauliflower to cook up and absorb some of that soy sauce. I will say getting the kids involved in cooking is such a fantastic way to really get them excited about what we're going to eat. You saw Bailey steal a little piece of carrot there, which is fantastic, right? It's just all eating vegetables. She feels like she's sneaking something, but she's sneaking a vegetable. And so I will be all for that any time of day or night. So adding up those fresh baby carrots that I cut up and now adding in the frozen peas. And then we're just going to cook this for another couple of minutes. And then once the peas have warmed all the way through and the carrots are at the consistency and texture that we want, we add back in those scrambled eggs that Bailey scrambled earlier. I usually chop up the eggs a little bit so that it can be broken up and spread throughout the dish. And then make sure that everything is really well mixed together. And then we can start putting it into our serving dish. Nice and easy. So this is really a meal that comes together so there quickly. We have it. Cauliflower fried rice, thanks to Zoe and Bailey. Now, it is hot. We'll give it a little moment to cool before we taste it. I always laugh because on cooking shows, they often will sprinkle a little bit of green on the top, right? Maybe some scallion, maybe some chopped up flat leaf parsley. And I laugh because my girls are better about it now. But it used to be, if there was anything green on the plate at all, they would say, "What is that?" So instead of sprinkling something green on, you could sprinkle something else on that you know that your kids like. That might make something that's new to them more appetizing. So if you wanted to cook up just a single piece of bacon or two and chop it really small, sprinkle that on top, that's a great addition. Might make it more appeasing to kids.
I like it with chicken.
Yes, Zoe really likes it with chicken, so we will often cook up some chicken. I don't think we've ever had it with cheese, but we could try it with cheese. That would be something. All right, girls, let's all, here, put your hand underneath it. Let's all take a bite together and try this. You got it, Bailey?
Yeah.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Mmm. What do you think?
Delicious.
Delicious. What do you think, Zoe? Yummy, right? There you have it. Thanks so much. Both girls cleaned their plates. What a fun, easy, and healthy meal. Hope you enjoyed it.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so we don't get caught going down some sort of a YouTube rabbit hole that we don't want to go down. But yes, as painful as that was for me to watch, my kids are certainly adorable, which makes it a little bit easier.
Zoe and Bailey.
Oh, no. Okay, perfect. So now actually we were going to take some time to address some of your questions and answers if you have them. We can see what is already up there.
Yeah, we do have a question for you.
Fantastic.
So a question from the audience is, what recommendations do you have to give to families regarding eating healthy when low income and relying on food from school is a necessity?
Yeah, absolutely. That is such a great question. And it's actually part of the reason why I'm so happy to be a pediatrician in Solano County, in Vallejo in particular, and that Project Happy is in Vallejo in particular, because Vallejo does have some of those food deserts and areas where it's very difficult to be able to get fresh produce. There's a lot of families that do rely on the school food, school programs. I know that throughout the state of California, those school food programs have been continued even during the COVID lockdown. So even while all of the kids are staying home and doing school from home, that you can still go to the school to pick up those free meals. So breakfast and lunch are what most schools are providing. Sometimes that can be an issue too if the family doesn't have transportation to the schools. And so there are some other resources. You know, one of the things that we might be able to do is put together some more resources for people here so that they know other areas and places where they could go. There's also been a number of food drives, so food trucks, produce pickups, things like that, that are helping out communities during these really challenging times. And then the other thing that I'll say too is, although fresh produce is kind of what we really want to go for, getting frozen produce, if you can get your hands on frozen produce, like I said, you saw me cook up some frozen peas there. Frozen produce can be just as good. Oftentimes it's frozen at its peak of freshness. And so it can be just as good as some of the fresh produce. And so learning how to incorporate more frozen produce in what you're serving your families can be a way that you can both save money and be able to access more produce. Make sure that you're offering your kids more fruits and vegetables. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question a little bit. Anybody else have anything else they want to add?
I think Dr. Quinn talked about the EBT and SNAP. Those are great resources that are available to use as well at farmers markets. So if you have that ability to get transportation down there, it's a great way to pick up fresh produce. And it's one of the things that I know a lot of students as well use, being such low income during school as well, to get some fresh produce.
Yeah.
We do have a practical question. How long does the cauliflower keep in the fridge if you can't eat it in one sitting?
The cauliflower fried rice.
Yes.
So if you can't eat it in one sitting, I treat it kind of similarly that I do with most of my leftovers. So not longer than 3 or 4 days. I know I tend to be a little conservative with leftovers, but you know, it probably keeps for up to a week, but I would give it a good smell if it had been in there for a week and we hadn't eaten it yet. Yeah.
We have another question about, you know, when we have live school, not virtual school, it's often hard to pack healthy lunches for the older kids, the adolescents and the high schoolers. Any suggestions?
One of my biggest suggestions, regardless of the age of the child, is to engage them in it. And especially as they're becoming teenagers, right? They're starting to build more of that independence, which is part of the reason why there's more battles between the parents and the children as they're becoming more independent. So really engaging with them. Like, you know, when we did this yesterday, this meal, my kids were both like, oh, good, can we have this for lunch? And I was like, wow, you're so enthusiastic. Yes, you can have it for lunch. So I think, you know, really engaging with the kids to see what they're interested in, you know, maybe they can help choose out some things. You can sit down together and talk about, this is what constitutes a healthy lunch, and this is why it's important to have a healthy lunch. So, you know, if you're not liking the apple that I pack in your lunch every day, let's find some fruit you do like, and, you know, find ways in which you can make sure that you're getting that good nutrition, and really including that. And then, you know, part of the treat yourself lesson that Happy has is finding those healthy substitutions. So eating pizza every day is clearly not the healthiest thing to do, although a lot of us would love to do that every day. But can you turn other things into pizza, or have that pizza feel, with getting more fiber, with actually getting some of the fruits and vegetables along with it, and not just having it be cheese and carb heavy. So yeah, finding some of those substitutions and really getting creative. And I would say, you know, as you're battling with your kids' independent spirit, kind of buying into that more. Like, you're growing up and you're making decisions about your body, and you want to make decisions about what you put into your body. And so, these are the criteria. With these criteria, you have to eat a fruit or a vegetable as part of every meal. Tell me what fruit or vegetable you want. And so, trying to build into that a little bit. But yes, the struggle is real. I don't even have a teenager. You saw my 10-year-old kind of roll her eyes at me a few times. So I feel like we're getting there.
Thank you. That's great. So I noticed that, it was really great to see your kids participate in the cooking, and it's clear to me that's a great way to do buy-in. I guess at what age do you think kids can participate safely in the preparation of a meal?
I think a lot of that has to do with the parents. I started having my kids help with cooking really young, and I will say the younger they were, the more frustrated I felt. You have to let go of the idea that everything's going to be perfect, and know that half of your ingredients are probably going to be dumped on the floor as they're dumping it. But if you do what I did, I prepped everything ahead of time. So my oldest loves to chop things, so I'll let her cut things, carefully and with supervision. But otherwise, if you prepare things ahead of time, you can get them involved like really young, and I'm talking really young, right? Like ages 2 and 3. It helps them actually with their fine motor skill development. So there's many added bonuses, and getting them have that love of cooking at an early age can be pretty fantastic. The stove is something, I don't know if you saw, but I actually reached around a few times to grab the handle of the pan because it was moving around. So the stove is something that I'll probably continue to give some supervision on for a while until my kids are more comfortable and smooth with it.
Thank you. We have another question that's come in about time is such an issue for so many people. How do you find time to incorporate cooking into daily lives rather than doing the easy thing that might be just picking up food on the run or fast food?
Such a great question. I will say that has been one of my silver linings with this COVID madness is, I still go to clinic, so I go in person to clinic, but the rest of the days, instead of going to our medical school campus, I've been working from home over Zoom. And so that means that I cut out my commute. And so it's been lovely to be able to just cook more with my kids and be more engaged that way. Has definitely been one of the silver linings, because I struggle in non-COVID settings when I am driving to work and driving from work. I struggle with that time crunch too. And so I'll do a lot of things like crock pot meals, make ahead meals, right? So roasting a ton of veggies on like a Sunday, roasting a ton of veggies, maybe even cooking up a bunch of chicken. And then I'll use those veggies and that chicken throughout the week in a variety of meals, and just know that I have it there ready, right? So it's not like, oh, the chicken nuggets in the freezer, the dino nuggets are what my kids eat. The dino nuggets in the freezer, let's just pull those out, right? To actually know that I have some healthy chicken that I've baked. Like, let's pull that out and serve that up along with some fruits and vegetables for the kids. But yes, it's hard, and it does take some planning ahead.
So please.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to add on to what you said, Dr. Hendriksz. I personally like to take shortcuts wherever I can. So if grocery stores offer pre-cut veggies, I take advantage of that and I'll buy the pre-cut veggies. And also places like Trader Joe's, like if you can get access to those, they sometimes they sell seasoning that kind of has everything all in it. So when you're seasoning your chicken, you have everything in just this one can, or not can, but little bottle, and that saves like a couple minutes right there. Of course, you want to choose the low sodium option if there is any. But any shortcut that you can take to, cut down even a couple of seconds of your cooking, that helps a lot, in addition to what Dr. Hendriksz was saying, where, you can cook in bulk. All of these little things can help to cut down the time it takes to cook.
Yeah, I love that. The other thing that I'll say too is when I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to make dinner, it feels like so much more of a big deal than it actually is, as long as I have the ingredients on hand. So that's one thing. I have to make sure I've gone shopping. But if I have the ingredients on hand, you can actually whip up like that cauliflower fried rice. The whole video was 9 minutes, right? And I clearly did some editing, but actually not a lot. It probably took us about 15 minutes to do all of that. So when you actually sit down to do some of the cooking, it feels like it's going to take a long time. But if you think, okay, I have 20 minutes to do this, you know, cook up some chicken, cook up some veggies, and you're good and ready to go. I'll get those freezer packs of veggies too that you cook in the microwave. And for some reason, my kids actually like them. I was really worried when I first started doing that because I like to roast veggies, just my personal taste. But those, you know, the cauliflower, broccoli freezer packs, you throw it in the microwave and it steams in the bag. So that is, you know, then I can do the dino nuggets and steam up the veggies and at least feel like, well, at least they're getting some vegetables along with a little bit of protein and carb that they're eating.
That's great. Thank you. The question comes in. I realize that Happy is focusing on pediatric diets, but do you have any tips about motivating the real problems, which are not the kids in the house who are not eating healthy?
Yes, the adults really are the real problem. You know, the studies that have been done on pediatric patients and motivating pediatric patients to eat healthfully, most of them have a pretty clear age cutoff. That's usually around, it kind of depends on the child, but anywhere from like 10 to 13. So below that, the emphasis has to be on the families. The parents have to be the ones that are making the decisions and bringing the healthy foods into the house and really serving as those role models for kids, right? Kids do so much, they learn so much more from what we do than they do from what we say. So telling a kid to eat your vegetables, but you're never eating vegetables, they're picking up what you're doing more than they're picking up what you're telling them to do. And so it really does have to be a whole family affair. I like to try to motivate the families that I work with by telling them to do it for the kids. You know, it's hard to eat healthy and to live these healthy lifestyles, especially when we've gotten used to rewarding ourselves in certain ways. But if we can embrace the idea that it can actually feel good and feel rewarding to be healthy and to eat healthfully and to instill those values in kids so that that becomes their habit. They're just reaching for fruit when they're hungry instead of, you know, reaching for some goldfish crackers or other things. That would be pretty fantastic. But yeah, I agree. I think the adults do tend to be the biggest issue. And if there is some sort of a sneak cabinet somewhere where, you know, the chips and soda and chocolate and cookies and all that stuff is, that cabinet just has to go away or has to be shrunk down so that, you know, it's really just real small portion size. You can't eat it if it's not there.
How do you know about the sneak cabinet?
I've been to your house.
So a last question, and this is a great question. What are some of the biggest barriers that you experienced with Project Happy Families as they were trying to engage in this endeavor? And how did you overcome them?
I feel like I've been talking so much. I really want my team to talk. So sorry to bat this out to you guys. I'll jump in, but I'm tired of hearing my voice. Do you guys want to talk about some of the biggest barriers you've reached or you've met, you've seen?
I can go for one. So my family didn't really, so a lot of the stuff that we were using, so like spaghetti squash or like the overnight oats, the family like wasn't aware that these things even existed. So a lot of it was just like not being exposed to like healthy alternatives that they could be using. So I think Happy was really good in just like giving them exposure so they were allowed to or able to kind of take that initiative on their own and like buy those things now that they've been exposed to it.
Yeah, year after year, we saw that the more that we got the kids involved, every lesson, we saw the kids wanting to keep those healthy habits going. Once they felt that they can be involved, they can have their voice heard in the preparation of the foods. And often the kids were the ones that were encouraging, it's like, oh, we got to add some more vegetables to this. And I think we need some more fruits or some more water. So once you get them involved, it's a great, it just keeps going, and it's a great positive, encouraging train.
Any other words of wisdom from the team?
Yeah, another thing was when I was working with my family, like it just like Tara had mentioned, like getting awareness. One of my family still, like up until 2 months, I got a text from them about growing their own vegetables because like the whole farm fresh aspect was so cool to them. So I think once we raise awareness through Project Happy, families have been sticking to it and wanting to be more engaged and learning more, and putting in the whole mind is making sure that when you're cooking with your family and you engage, like Dr. Hendriksz said, you engage the kids, the parents, everyone's doing it something together, you're cooking it together. So you're also aware of what you're putting in your family. It's like family time, or what you're putting in your food, and then it's family time. So it's really a great way to get multiple things checked off in one activity.
And I think we're right at 6 o'clock, and I was told there's a hard stop. So we won't go any further. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us. We are grateful to be able to share this with you. I'm so grateful for my team. Thank you very much to Dr. Shubrook and to the hosts of Zoom Wellness. We are lucky to have been able to participate in this. I threw up some of our contact information on there, so feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. I want to especially thank Dr. Hendriksz and Project Happy team for being here tonight to share this incredible information. We absolutely loved your video. And thank you to all of our attendees for joining us in this webinar. We have attached the link for the survey in the chat, and would also like to let you know that the recording of this webinar is going to be posted at tu.edu/MOBEC. And if you would like to sign up for any future events, please go to tu.edu/MOBEC/Zoom into Wellness, and you will find the remainder of our events regarding nutrition throughout this week. Next week is Mind, Body, Spirit, and the week after is the Chronic Conditions Management, Prevention, and Awareness. Thank you all so much for coming, and we hope to see you again. Have a good evening.